Hi folks, Andy C here from Andrew Chappelle Natural Bodybuilding on Facebook. Check out Instagram as well for my Instagram page, which is Fueled by Scott's Oats. So you should find me on there for some videos and some photographs that I post up there from all my training. So this morning I posted up a photograph of my current dietary intake. So I more or less just when I woke up in the morning, put all the things together that I normally eat in a day and then took a photograph of it. So it's got my breakfast in there, it's got what I'm going to have lunch, plus 3 sort of solid meals that I have, as well as any sort of condiments and coffee, etc. that I normally eat in a day, on protein powders and so on. I also posted up my calorific breakdown, so what are the actual relative quantities of that amount of food that I'm eating as well. So you've got details there for protein, carbohydrate, fat, and then you've also got total energy, which is expressed as calories as well. Now I've scaled them to my own body size, so right now I'm around about 84 kilogram. So you can get the relative intakes, which are expressed in grams per kilogram of body weight. So right now I'm on roughly around about, I'll just check here, 5.37 grams per kilogram of body weight of carbohydrate, 2.57 grams per kilogram for protein, and then 0.78 grams per kilogram of fat. I've also expressed it as a percentage, so for those of you who like to work in percentages to try and work out if it's a low or if it's a high carbohydrate diet, etc., then that works out at roughly probably about 54% carbohydrate, 27% to 28% protein, and then around about 19% fat. Now, those are all kind of rough estimates, so depending on the dietary software that you use to analyse your diet, then you'll get slight differences in the amount of food that you'll be taking in. So those sort of figures are kind of more or less ballpark, but they'll be kind of probably at least within maybe 6 or 7% of what I'm actually taking in just now. Overall, in terms of energy, it works out around about 3,150 odd calories, and then 37 calories per kilogram of body weight as well. So at this point in my diet, on a training day at least, I'm still eating a decent amount of food, and I'm pretty happy with that as well, because it's helping me maintain a good level of fullness. It's helping me maintain a relative amount of strength when I'm training, and a relative amount of training intensity. I can't train as hard as I once trained before when I had lots of energy coming in there. I'm just not fueled appropriately to help me get through those workouts, and I'm a little bit lighter, so I'm just having to lift slightly lighter weights. But relatively speaking, that's the amount of food that I'm taking in. Now, that's working for me at the moment, and it's helping me get in shape. You could, if you wanted to, look at those numbers, apply them to yourself, the relative amounts I would say, rather than the actual percentages, because the percentages are just a breakdown of the energy intake, and you could be eating a high percentage of protein or a high percentage of fat, for example, and still be eating much less than I am eating relatively if you look at the grams per kilogram body weight. So if you're going to try and follow something similar to what I'm doing, then try and express your numbers as grams per kilogram of body weight, because that really means something in terms of how much food that you're going to be eating. Now, you could, as I say, follow this sort of diet yourself if you're trying to get yourself just in shape for some sort of weight loss goal, if you're trying to help yourself with your training goals, maybe to try and gain a little bit of muscle mass, etc., or even to try and help you with a bodybuilding contest. However, it's worth bearing in mind that this diet is the diet that I'm following, and I've been following this now for, say, at least the last 12 weeks, or at least something similar to this with higher relative amounts. So it might not work for you. And I'm not trying to suggest that, I would say that when it comes to weight loss or bodybuilding, I'm not entirely sure you can take a painting by numbers approach. And by that I mean you can't just say, okay, if we're going to have this much protein, this much fat, and this much carbohydrate, and it's definitely going to work for you. There certainly has to be a little bit of tweaking along the way, because we have to remember at the same time, I've got a certain basal amount of energy that I'm going to expend just by walking about in my day-to-day activity, how much fidgeting I actually do, a certain amount of basal activity when it comes to just digesting food. A certain amount of activity is going to be expended with all my additional exercise training I do. So some people train harder, some people train less intense. And that's going to affect the amount of weight loss as well that someone has, an amount of energy that they require. And also at the same time, there's things like cardiovascular exercise and then the additional posing that I do. So there's all these other things that factor in. And if you try to follow this plan that I'm following, and you could say, okay, well, I'm not losing weight. I don't know how this person can lose weight like that. Maybe it's because their body's particularly good at assimilating either carbohydrate, protein, or fat, or that person's genetically gifted. It's not the case. There's just so many other factors that you have to consider there. And I mean, it could easily be that between individuals, there's a 400 to 500 calorie swing in terms of how much activity that person's putting out following the same sort of diet, even at relatively the same body sizes, that could influence the sort of goal of weight loss or weight gain. So genetics is a bit of a cop-out for these sort of a reason why you might not be able to achieve them. Now, in terms of actual food choices, there's nothing groundbreaking there that I'm taking in. So, I mean, it's all what you describe as complex foods or low GI foods, if you like. So things like oats in the morning. I'm consuming things like potatoes as my other carb choices. Sweet potatoes, particularly because they're lower GI. I've got rice that I take in on my non-training days, where I have brown rice and I have white basmati rice as well, and then I kind of mix them together because brown basmati rice is pretty terrible tasting, so I kind of go half and half. So it's grains there, and then after training I've got potatoes as well, and then I have lots of fibrous veg as well. So I've been nothing groundbreaking about this sort of diet at all. I am what you would probably describe as a clean eater, if you like. And I think there are certain advantages to that, because if you follow the same sort of food choices and the same sort of food patterns all of the time, then consistently you're going to be consuming the same dietary intake all of the time as well. Whereas if you chop and change an awful lot between different days, then you can get larger calorie swings, so larger swings in your energy intake, which will affect your ability to exercise and also your ability for weight loss. So for example, you might have a plan that's written out at, say, 3,000 calories per day. One day you consume, say, 3,200. The next day you consume 2,800. Now that's a 400 calorie difference. And that is perhaps a large exaggeration on the amount of swing you might get within a sort of non-clean eating approach or a sort of less sort of structured meal plan approach. But I've just sort of used that as an example to sort of highlight the sort of swing that you might potentially get. So 400 calories difference between days is a big deal. In fact, some people would probably have a 400 calorie difference between their training days and their non-training days in terms of things like carbohydrate cycling or even energy cycling. Now, that's my intake in terms of my training days. When it comes to my non-training days, there's not any major differences really at all. I don't have my post-workout shake because I've not trained, and also my intake is slightly less. So all my meals are the same more or less, apart from my post-workout meal, whereby instead of having white potatoes, I have that rice meal I was talking about, and I just have slightly less in terms of an actual energy intake. Now the calorie swing, it works out again at about maybe 2,700, 2,650, probably somewhere around there. So again, similar to that sort of example I gave before about the sort of swing when it comes to the sort of maybe clean eating approach versus the if it fits your macro approach. Although, as I say, that was an exaggeration about in terms of intake. So 9.5 weeks ago, I did some posing 8.5. I did some posing the other day there. And my friend Guy looked at me again, and he was pretty happy with how I was looking at this point as well. Again, he reckons this is probably about the leanest I've been at this point coming into a show before. So it's this potentially the best I've looked at this stage. So I'm on course to maybe bring my best ever physique to the stage, and I'm really pleased with that. Looking on the scales, again, it's a total sort of mind job, because I've sort of realised that wherever I put my scales on the floor within my bathroom, even though I've bought new scales, again, my weight changes. But it's looking like I'm going to be slightly heavier than the last time I competed. How much heavier? Don't know. But last time I competed was 2014. It looks like all the strongman style training that I've been doing, along with the bodybuilding training I've been doing as well, has maybe resulted in me gaining close to a kilogram of body weight. So not a huge amount of muscle, but when it comes to being in the right places, I can see that my physique is just sort of thicker all over, particularly across the sort of chest and the back area. Now, in a few weeks' time, we've got the Northern Championships with the British Natural Bodybuilding Federation, which is being held in Manchester at the Royal College of Music, and I'm doing a guest spot there. So at that point, my physique will have been revealed to everyone on stage, to all my other competitors that are competing against me, and they'll have an idea of how I'm actually looking. So after that, I mean, I guess I can sort of post some more photographs, etc., about how I'm sort of looking there, because the cat's out of the bag essentially at that point, and there's no point sort of hiding, I guess, at that sort of stage there. The reason I don't post a lot of photographs or a lot of videos is because I come from the sort of, well, I'm of a generation whereby Dorian Yates was the guy that we all sort of looked up to, particularly in Britain, and they always called him the Shadow. And his approach was always, turn up on the day of the competition, do your thing, display your physique, and then disappear. Don't show any photographs of yourself. Keep it all sort of hidden up, and just let the opposition sweat and worry about you, and then they'll sort of say, okay, well, how's this guy looking? Now, the other sort of approach is, okay, well, you can post photographs, and then that can potentially sort of maybe frighten your potential other competitors. But the guys that I'm going up against, they're seasoned pros. They're not going to be looking at my photographs and thinking, oh God, I'm scared of how this guy's going to look. So the other thing you can maybe take from that is, okay, they might get motivated by how I'm looking, or maybe they take their foot off the gas and they think, okay, well, this guy's not looking great. I can potentially not work as hard myself because I'm going to beat that. So it's a bit of a generational thing, especially in this age of social media. That's why certainly I don't tend to post a lot of sort of photographs as well. Now, the other thing is, my bodybuilding has always been for me, so my interest has always been, okay, how can I be the best physique that I can potentially be? I'm going to display what I can on stage, and that's going to be the body, the statue that I've been working on for a long period of time. I don't get particularly motivated by showing pictures off to other people. Likes on my Facebook page for how I'm looking in a bathroom when I'm taking selfies of myself, or how I might look in the gym at a particular time, or whatever. That doesn't motivate me. I mean, it might motivate other people, but not particularly myself. And plus, I always sort of think, well, I look at my absolute best when I'm on stage, when I've done my dehydration, when I've done my carb loading, when I've got my tan on, etc. Rather than in these other sort of circumstances, I need to be absolutely on it to look my potential best. And there are some guys who have got gym physiques that look absolutely fantastic in the gym, whereas I'm not so sure that I've got the most impressive sort of gym physique. I sort of, as I say, look at my best on the stage. So that's the sort of version that I always want to sort of display to people. So there's a sort of little insight into my sort of thinking and my mentality behind the sort of desire not to post photographs or whatever. However, as I say, after this guest spot that I do in a few weeks' time, then it's all going to be revealed anyway. So, I mean, I'll have photographs, I'll put them up, and I'll sort of show this is where I'm at this stage in the diet, and then people can critique them to their heart's content. The training itself is going pretty well. I'm pretty pleased with how I'm getting on at the moment. Again, maintaining relatively decent amounts of strength. Most exercises, I have managed to get a little bit of a niggle in my right arm, which means that I wasn't able to train chest quite as hard as I wanted last week. Back as well, I had to kind of hold back on that as well, and tricep sort of training. I think I've done that from a Atlas stone that I lifted a few weeks back. So a lot of moral in there. Don't necessarily do this sort of strongman stuff when you're getting ready for a diet, because body fat levels are lower, calorie intake is lower, and you're sort of at a greater risk of injury. So again, I'll not be doing any sort of strongman style training for the duration of my training. Now, with the next 8 weeks, what's probably now going to happen is this is going to be the point in my diet where it starts to get tough. Now, the previous 12 odd weeks, it's been all right. It's not been that hard. I started relatively early in my diet. I've managed to lose a decent amount of weight so far. It's not been particularly stressful. I'm still eating a decent amount of food. However, when it comes to actually getting in that really crisp condition to lose those last couple of pounds, and it's the same with weight loss in general, that's when it starts to get a little bit harder. I'm going to have to drop my calorie intake just a little bit again to try and help myself lose that little bit of extra weight. And I suspect that's when it's going to get hard. So we'll see how I fare over the next few weeks, see how the training goes, and then again we'll see how I look on stage after that. The Grand Prix itself, I'm really looking forward to it. So we've got a number of guys that I know are competing now. So we've got DFAC World Champion, we've got David Kay. Looking forward to competing against David. This will be the first time I've actually ever been on stage with Dave in all the years that I've known him. We've got Mike Battersby, so former IMBA Mr. Universe. That's how he won his pro card. I competed against Mick in my first ever bodybuilding show way back in 2006. I won the junior class. He won the middleweights, or it would have been the lightweights. Phenomenal arms, I should say. And we were both in the overall together. So I've known Mick for a real long time. Great conditioning as always, and I think you take someone like Mick lightly at your peril. So I'll be really looking forward to see how he gets on in 8 weeks' time on stage. I'm really looking forward to competing against him. We've got another Masters competitor. We've got Daz Cooper, former DFAC World Masters Champion. Quadzilla, as they call him. Great big legs. Always brings really granite conditioning. And again, another sort of competitor that you would take lightly at your peril, because if you're not in shape, then he would certainly knock you off as well. So I'll be looking forward to competing against him. Again, I've competed against him in 2009, I think, in overall at a British finals. So I'll have to see if I can look back through old photographs and see if I can find any comparisons with myself and him. We've got Robert Waterhouse competing as well, so DFAC Lightweight World Champion. Anyone who's seen photographs of Robert will know how phenomenal he looks. Absolutely brilliant physique. Great roundness in his pectorals, great abs, great legs as well. And I've done a few training sessions with Rob. Really nice guy, and I've competed against him a few times as well. Now he's kind of got my number, so he's the guy that I really want to try and push to try and place ahead of. So I competed against Rob in 2008 at the BNBF Scottish or was it British Championships, I should say, and he came first and I came second. Then I competed against Rob in 2013 in the overall at the British Championships for the pro card. Again, he was first. I was probably second in the overall lineup. So again, he beat me there as well. So again, we've not competed against each other as pros, and I'll be really looking forward to trying pushing it against him to see if we've both made improvements and see, okay, who's going to come out top dog this time. Hopefully me. And then last but by no means least, a competitor I know who's taking part is Shane Raymond. Now, anyone who's seen Shane Raymond, athlete sponsored by Grenade, will know that he's absolutely gigantic. I've competed against Shane 2 times in the past, once in 2012, and I think once in 2014 maybe, I forget. Once in the middleweight and once in the heavyweight. On both occasions, he was probably the biggest man in the class. He probably won the symmetry round again in that class because he's absolutely ginormous. However, I managed to pip him on both occasions in terms of probably just having a bit better conditioning on the day than him as well. So he'll be looking to try and beat me. There's no doubt about it. And I think he's competed against Rob as well. So he'll be looking to try and get one up on Rob as well. So myself, Rob and Shane, there's a sort of maybe interesting side plot going on to the actual Grand Prix itself to see who can come out on top. Now, Shane was probably a little bit hard done by last year when he competed at the DFAC Worlds, when he maybe never got the call-outs that he deserved, and the best shape he has ever been as well at that show as well. So it would have been interesting to see how he could have got on if maybe the judges were a little bit fair to him, if he could have maybe cracked maybe the top 4 at the Worlds ahead of maybe someone like a Darren Peacock. And certainly it would have been nice to see how he compared next to Mark Claxton anyway, who came in Oh, sorry, Mark, maybe fourth on that occasion at that show, or fifth. I'm sorry, Mark, if I've got that wrong. So that's where we're at just now, and that concludes my video log. So any questions, then fire them my way, and thanks for your attention. Keep training smart and keep working hard. Okay, thanks.